Man, how you doing, Aki? Man, all praise to the Most High for the elders, for the Palau. All praises for the Mishpachah. Thank the Most High for us being here today. Elder Debar, shout out to you, Elder, for that word, for all the words that were spoken today. May they don't go on deaf ears, but they go into our ruachs and stir us up for a meaningful purpose. And that purpose is for the Most High. Shout out, Aki. Man, Benayah, come on, man, introduce yourself, man. We love you, man. We've been following you for a while. We've been listening to all your history that you have given on us, things that we have never had, never heard. And man, it's been a blessing. When I first came into the truth back in 2016, early 2016, I was like, man, what is this? It was just beautiful words to hear about us, our culture, our people, man. Everybody, this is Benayah, the historian. I can go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, shalom, shalom, everybody. And actually, well, Shabbat shalom, first of all. And let me tell you, family, you could tell that the Ruach is here. I have learned so much this morning. I'm over here writing notes. You can't see my computer, but I'm over here writing notes. I mean, Elder Shemaiah, man, he's going in, man. I'm writing notes, and it's like I'm trying not to disturb the order of things, but over my side of town, we have this thing called coming off the top rope. And it's like all of the things that you all have said, is prophetic, especially when you look at it from the lens of history. Like, when Elder Shemaiah was talking about, unity, we all want unity, or we all want to get back, right? You can't stop the Most High's will, right? All this separation that's going on, that's in our community right now. And as a community, we want to come together. And one of the things I wrote down on my sheet, my little study pad over here, is the aftermath of the curses. The aftermath of the curses. Like, we are literally dealing with the aftermath of the curses. And then one of our elders brought out Hosea, right? We was reading Hosea chapter 4, verse 6. It says, "My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, because thou hast rejected knowledge. I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest unto me. Seest thou hast forgotten the law of thy Yahuwah, or Yah, I will also forget thy children." And let me tell you, family, this when you all read this scripture, it spoke to me. Again, from the lens of history, when you look at this from the lens of history, you realize how important it is when you start to speak of the children. You start to speak of the children when you start talking about, like, the curses of Deuteronomy. One of our brothers brought out Deuteronomy 28, but the verse 28, 32, "Thy sons and thy daughters," the children, "shall be given unto another people." This is the curse, family. "And in thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in thine hand." Children. Joel 3, verse 6, "The children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have you sold unto the Grecians, that you might remove them far from your borders." The children. And then when you look back, of course, we all know that this occurred with the transatlantic slave trade. And then what people may not know, because a lot of the portrayals, and I apologize, Elder, feel free to stop me. It's just that the
No, help yourself.
The Ruach was deep this morning. And it's like, when you think about the transatlantic slave trade, one of the myths that we see when we look at the transatlantic slave trade is that, especially you see it on TV, and you see our people, packed like sardines in a can. The myth, family, is that they have adults on those ships. If we were to go back in time and to actually look at the people that were on the slave ships, the majority of the people on the slave ships were children. What I used to tell people, I was like, if you want to get an idea of, put a visual in your mind as to what the transatlantic slave trade looked like actually looked like, go to your neighborhood elementary school and just sit there during dismissal and watch the kids come out to school and get on and board the buses. Those were the people that were on the transatlantic slave ships. And it's one of those things, family, where, when I was doing this research, we actually pulled there's a database called the Transatlantic Slave Trade Database. We downloaded the database. I pulled all those names out, sorted them by names, put them in categories. In the majority, and I was shocked to find out that the majority of the people on the slave ships were children. And not knowing that, this ties back into prophecy. This ties back into the curses of Deuteronomy. Because one of the things that people also wanted to know was like, man, how do you get a people that don't know who they are? How do you get a people that's separated from their history? Well, you separate the children from the parents. And that's what happened. You had all these children being loaded onto slave ships, sent halfway around the world. And here we are, not knowing who we were. We were taught by our enemies, raised in the land of our captivities. And that's why I said, family, this, today is really speaking to me as far as, tying this back into history, seeing how, all this has come about. That's one thing, when I do the research and I'm coming across things like, one of the messages this morning was unity, coming together. And, of course, a nation divided against itself shall not stand, right? And, of course, we see that back in Jerusalem, when it's kind of around the time of King David and how the kingdom, around that time was split, northern kingdom, southern kingdom. It was divided against itself. Civil war going, battling back and forth against each other. You can actually look at that as the beginning of the end. Fast forward to the time of the transatlantic slave trade, when the children were on the west coast of Africa, or they were taking the children from the parents on the west coast of Africa. One of the things I came across, family, in these books and these studies, and that was when we call them manhunters. When the manhunters would come in, come inland to get their slaves, a couple of things they noted right off the bat. One thing that they noticed was that, man, there's a lot of these people here. It's a large number of these people that are here. And that was the first thing that they noticed. And the second thing that they noticed was that they aren't unified. They said that, man, if these people came together, we would not be able to come against them. So we would get overrun in a second, in a heartbeat. But what was happening was that when the slave, if you can picture like a subdivision, the slave hunters would come into the subdivision, grab the first house close to the exit of the subdivision, and while everybody else saw what was going on, they would not raise a finger, move a muscle to go and help their brother. They would just look at that brother and they would say things like, well, I guess maybe he had it coming. I guess maybe, he says this, and I use that name, that sort of thing. And they would just allow it to happen. And then that would allow the slave catchers, or manhunters, to go from house to house to house to house to house until all the community was removed of people. Unity, right? We didn't have that unity, and that's what contributed. And that's why when you all were speaking about this, I was like, man, you guys are hitting on this thing. It's like, that's why they were able to get us from the west coast of Africa. If you go, even if you go back a little bit further than that, and you look at the fall of Jerusalem in 70 AD, this, during a time of the feast days, we were gathered there for the time of the feast days, for the time of Pesach. Jerusalem was bursting at the seam with people. Granted, Vespasian and General Titus, they were marching their armies against Jerusalem, but family, we had everything we needed to be able to handle Vespasian and General Titus. You can believe that. They were coming against Jerusalem. Guess what we were doing? We were fighting. There was infighting within the walls of Jerusalem. Vespasian pulls up. That's when the infighting temporarily stopped. We came together for a moment. And when Titus came against the walls of Jerusalem, we beat him back so bad, he almost lost his life. People may not know this, but he almost lost his life in the first altercation. They run back, the Romans run back, and then they regather themselves. They start making siege engines, start tearing down trees. They literally obliterated the land of Jerusalem of trees, because they were just making siege engines in an attempt to overtake Jerusalem. What did we do during this time? We fought with each other. We started back having that strife within the walls. We didn't prepare. We weren't storing up food. The little food that we had, we were one party would take it and burn it and stuff like that. It was a total chaos, total chaos. And you know the story, family. One thing led to another, and Jerusalem fell. It's that unity, family. It's gone. And so that's why when you all speak about unity this day and age, the aftermath of the curses, you don't realize. I don't know if you all realize how big that is, family. Like you're talking about righting the wrongs or the wrongs that we witnessed in Jerusalem, righting the wrongs that we witnessed in the west coast of Africa. Correcting that, coming together, and once we do that, family, let me tell you, we are going to be a problem for this nation, and they know it. This is why when people say the powers to be is like, man, we just don't want no black Messiah to come and unify these people, because we know if they come and unify, that's going to be the beginning of the end. And and this is why we're being surveilled. And that's one of the things that I wanted to talk about briefly with you today. I don't want to keep you too long, family, but one of the things that they're doing is that they're surveilling our community. They are doing things behind the scenes against our jobs. You may not know that, but we'll talk about that here in a moment. Yes, your jobs. There's a company, or actually multiple organizations, that are out there today who are funded by the Israeli government, that they have profiles on what they call Black Hebrew Israelites. And what they're doing is that they're going behind the scenes and going against your job. Because I know somebody mentioned the accuser of the brethren. They are the quintessential accuser of the brethren. They accuse us before police officers, before government officials, 24/7, 7 days a week. That's what they do. They are truly the children of Hasatan. But like I said, Most High willing, just like Elder Shemaiah was saying, but no one's going to be able to stop the will of the Most High Yah. It's coming. He said we're going to be free. We're going to be free. But at least just want to bring this to your attention so that we can incorporate this into our prayer. But I'm sorry, Elder. Like I said, you guys were just hitting on so much stuff. I was like, ooh, man, I just want to speak on that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's no problem, bro. Speak freely, man. Speak freely. We here to learn more from you, my brother. I know you got a lot of things going on. So my question to you is, what is the African Israelite Justice Foundation that you have been working with?
Yeah. Am I able to present on here? I'm not sure if I.
Yeah, you should.
Yes,
be.
sir.
Let's see. Okay, hopefully y'all can see that. I think, okay, it's on the screen. But yeah, so the African Israelite Justice Foundation, and it's like I said, it's prophetic that we all were speaking about unity and coming together, because that is one of the core beliefs of this organization. And I'll preface what I'm getting ready to say, family, that I'm no prophet. I'm just your average brother, right? I got kids, wife, house, and everything, and I don't necessarily cut the grass like I used to, but I was out cutting the grass, doing all the stuff that you would expect your average brother to do, and that's me, right? But before this, I will tell you that before this organization was created, I do believe that I from time to time I do have dreams given to me by the Most High. Not a bad taco or a cheeseburger, but a dream, right? Given to me by the Most High. And I remember having this dream, family, where I was literally dreaming about the children of Israel. We were all in this village. I guess the best way I can explain it is this a village, a compound, a living quarters. We were all there, and we were children. But when I looked around in this compound of Israel, what I saw was brother fighting against brother. They were all behind trees, behind bushes, behind whatever, shooting these arrows at each other, fighting against each other. Now that was kind of like an odd scene for me to take in, but that wasn't all, family. The other thing that caught my eye was off to the right, there was an army of Edomites, an army marching in, and they were marching in, and you could tell that they had the intent to kill, steal, and destroy. Like the looks on their face, the best way I can explain it is just a hardened army, just marching in. If you zoomed in, I mean, if this was a film and you zoom into their faces, you can see that they just had this hatred for these people that they were coming against, and they were just marching right down the street. And I'm looking at this, yeah, y'all don't see that. But when I looked over at the my people, the children of Israel, we were just fighting each other. They were fighting each other, shooting arrows at each other. And these Edomites, I'm telling you, they were just marching right down the street. And what I did was that I guess I was the only one that saw it. So I got up and I started walking right next to their marching line. They were looking at me. I was looking at them. They had that mean look. Now, it's the best way I can explain it to you, family. I played, sports. I played football coming up. When you're on the defensive line and you're looking across the lineman, it's not a love look that you're giving each other, right? So it's that look, of I'm getting ready to do battle with these folks. And so I'm walking against them on the other side, but I was by myself. And so, of course, dream goes on and I wake up. And when I took from that dream thing was that, when we get attacked, I'm going to be part of something that's going to fight against our enemies. And that's when this organization, it just came into being. Of course, when you all heard about the Kyrie Irving and our brother Ron Dalton Jr., where Kyrie Irving, he shared a post, things went viral. All of a sudden, he was attacked by this group called the ADL. We didn't know who or what this ADL was. They just came out of nowhere, it seemed. But all of a sudden, they were just at the forefront of attacking our brother Kyrie and of course Ron Dalton. And this is like the first time that I had heard of them. And so I started looking into their history. And then one of the things I was shocked to see was that they had been coming against our community for a very long time. Like you look at their history, when over here in the States in America, just for the benefit of those who may not be in the States. So we were over here in slavery until, Emancipation Proclamation, 1863, 1865, depending on, Juneteenth, that sort of thing. But, around that time, we get free, right? We have this, we have our freedom. And then for a time, we were kind of raising up. Our communities were prospering and thriving. People may have heard things like Black Wall Street. We had our hubs and cities. The blessings of the Most High was on us. And one of the things that you may not know, this might shock you, family, is as soon as those shackles came off of us, there are certain organizations that we founded day one that nobody has told you that we founded. And I actually have this in the book that's coming out, Most High willing, within the next month or two, or within the next month. But one of the very first organizations that we founded was the Sons of Ancient Israel. The Sons of Ancient Israel was one of the very first groups, once the chains fell off, that we founded. We also founded the the sons and the daughters of Zion. That was founded in, they'll tell you that it was founded somewhere around 1870, but there really isn't a hard set date on it. But all we know is that as soon as those chains and shackles came off, these Israelite organizations popped up. That what you won't find in your history books as far as people telling it to you, but it's there. And we, believe it or not, family, we started to adhere to Torah. We started to, when people came off got out of slavery, and it wasn't easy for people to get off slavery because the slave master, they still wanted their pound of flesh. They still wanted people to work in their fields. So one of the things they did was they tried to trick us, right? They said, well, all right, well, congratulations, you're free. But where you gonna stay? I mean, I had some housing for you on the plantation, but now that you're free, what you gonna do? You don't have a roof over your head. Well, why don't you stay in my your old shack that I had for you back there? And what are you gonna eat? I mean, now that you're free, you don't have a job, you can't really pay for food. So what are you gonna do? Well, you know what? How about this? How about you go back out to that cotton field that you just came from, that you just got freed from, and you're still free, by the way. You're still free. Don't get me wrong, you're still free. But I'll pay you because you don't have a job right now, so I'll pay you to do your old job, and then in exchange for, you doing the work and me paying you, and you can't really feed yourself, well, I'll provide you that room and board. I'll provide you food, and you know what? After we do all the calculations, it looked like it's a wash. So I won't literally have to give you any money. You just do your old job, right? And we'll just keep this the same arrangement. Needless to say, family, unfortunately for a lot of our brothers and sisters that came out of slavery post Emancipation Proclamation, we were still working on those plantations, unfortunately, and that's how they kept us on their family. But eventually, over time, family, these groups, the ancient sons of Israel, the sons and daughters of Zion, came into being, so not everyone was in that was in that situation. Some of our brothers and sisters were in the north, and they were able to help form these organizations. These organizations helped look out for the widows, they looked out for the orphans, and it helped things like for people that needed to be buried, they helped them to bury them and look after them, give them food. In some cases, they helped with educating our brothers and sisters. So they were a benevolent organization, and these were set up right after the chains and shackles came off. And right after that, you start to see our communities come together, our communities start to thrive. Black Wall Street, we started to prosper. And then 1915 comes around, and then all hell breaks loose. What happens in 1915? Well, this is when over here in the States, we start to have these massacres back to back to back to back to back, all across the country. If you all are familiar with the Ku Klux Klan, I know our American, United States audience is, but for the benefits of those who may not be aware of it, it's a hate group, white supremacist group, and they were the ones that orchestrated, usually behind all these massacres against our communities. Well, in 1815, this is when they were reborn. They came into being shortly after the chains and shackles came off. Federal government attacked them and defunded them. So they kind of went away for a while, but there was a rich Ashkenazi that actually sustained them while they were being persecuted by the government. But then around 1915, they burst back on the scene. This is why I'm telling you, family, this is when I started to realize that the ADL, they are evil and wicked. We talked about the enemies of Israel. They are evil and wicked. The massacres as a whole for the quote unquote Black community started happening around 1915. Well, guess what? Well, 1915, not around 1920. Well, guess what? Who was born or birthed around that time or just before that time? The ADL. The ADL, who was funded here from the States and abroad. Of course, they have their ties back to to Israel, and when they came into being, they were, in my estimation, they were behind the rise of the KKK. I actually have a clip, a news clip showing that they were literally working with the one of the producers that created the film Birth of a Nation, which was credited for the rebirth of the KKK. But they were on paper, caught on film, caught on paper, working with them right before the rebirth of the Ku Klux Klan. These are the enemies of Israel.
So Salaki, real quick,
yeah.
Elder. So you saying this is similar to what the scripture said when our enemies have become confederate against us.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Sir.
Always working against us. Always working against us. And like once we figured out that we need to keep an eye on these guys. And especially during the whole Kyrie Irving incident, one of the things that really struck me when all this stuff was going on with our brother Ron and Kyrie Irving and just all over the news, I was like, man, where's the NAACP? Like I remember growing up that I used to see videos of them marching, and they had clout, and they were always looking out for Black folks, and they were always front and foremost, but they were nowhere to be found. even today, when we have things like the DEI, being pulled out, affirmative action being pulled out, this talk of segregation being reintroduced, you hear nothing from the NAACP. They are ghosts. They are gone. They are they're neutered. They're gone. And this is part of the reason why this organization, I believe, the African Israelite Justice Foundation, is to stand in the gap, where they used to be. And that is to face the enemies, because up to this point, organizations like the ADL, they have been able to run roughshod with unabated. They could, like you said, they're the accuser of the brethren. They do it all the time. When they get up, they literally meet with law enforcement. Well, guess what community has problems with law enforcement? Black folks, Israelites. And so they're meeting with law enforcement, regularly, federal, state, local, and they're training them. And, just from the outside looking in, I'm like, well, if we're having problems with police officers and they're training them, well, I want to know what they're teaching them. What are you saying, accuser of the brother, to them about me? So when we founded this organization, one of the things that I did was I filed a Freedom of Information Act request. And basically, it's one of those requests where you can petition the government to get access to documents, to their documents. And so we requested access to their documents. I wanted to know what they were saying about the Black community. I wanted to know who they were putting on the list, because I don't know if like the Israelite community as a whole has ever, you guys have ever had like to try to do a conference or some sort of gathering, and the police show up and they're just nervous. That's because somebody told them something before they came out there.
So question,
mm-hmm.
What sort of attacks have you seen to come against our community in America?
It's many. It's many. One of the ones I was talking about before was so there's a couple of organizations like Canary Mission is one of these organizations, and you may not recognize the name, but if you looked on the news and you saw if you guys remember back when there were like protests on the college campuses, and they were arresting people and stuff like that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Here in Atlanta. So one of the things that the ADL, some of these other organizations tried to do to try to tamp down on those protests was they started going after students. They started doing this thing called doxing, DOXXING, where they basically take the person's picture, get all their personal information, put it out in the public, and then what they also do is behind the scenes, they go to their employer to try to get them fired, which is illegal, by the way. That's called tortillas interference. So if they're ever caught doing that, they could be brought in court. But there's a way that they're trying to get around that. We'll kind of talk about that in a little bit. But when we were watching them do this for the people in the protesters for Gaza, we as Israelites, we may have been sitting at home like saying, "Ooh, that's not us." I mean, I'm glad, they're not doing that against our community. Well, here's the thing, family. If you go to their website, the Canary Mission website, one thing you'll realize is that before the whole Gaza thing blew up, they were looking at our community. They were doing this against our community. They literally have a webpage called Black Hebrew Israelites on their webpage, where they were behind the scenes doxing Israelite communities. So you know how they do, family? They these Israelis, they always go for the leaders. So if you're a leader or a moray, this is their preferred method of attack is they'll get those leaders, those morays. They normally go over to LinkedIn, go to your LinkedIn profile, figure out what your current employer is, and then go from there. Make phone calls and stuff like that. So one of the things that we're telling our brothers and sisters to do is like, hey, if you're on LinkedIn there's, of course, there's like settings and things like that on LinkedIn where you can just change your profile just so that your business isn't as public, as everybody else's. Just don't put your whole personal business out on LinkedIn if you're not looking for a job. If you're happy where you are, make that stuff private so that they won't be able to do that. But that's one of the attacks that they're doing, and the reason that they're trying. Well, one of the reasons why they're trying to get away with it, or they're able to get away with it, is they are not based here in the States. They are based in Israel. And they have ties back to like the Secret Service in the Israeli government, so that it makes it difficult for organizations like ours to try to bring them to court because they're not here. So this is, just one of those attacks where we say, family, the enemies of Israel, like Elder was saying, they're confederate against us. They're trying to come against us. And there's some, definitely going to put our prayer on it, because, like Elder Shemaiah was saying, they're not going to be able to stop the Most High. But we darn sure can pray about it and pray against them, as far as like whatever they're doing to come against our community. But yeah, Elder, that was just one of the things that that they were doing against our community. I'll just say this real quick. The other thing was they had this slander campaign against our community as well. Remember the accuser of the brethren, that's the ADL. They had a slander campaign, and they were running unabated. They, at any point in time, Jonathan Greenblatt, he'd be out there talking about Black Hebrew Israelites. I know we don't identify with that, but that's the label that they put on us. But they were saying that these Hebrew Israelites, they're they're violent and radical and extremist and all this other stuff, and they would spread this unabated. Well, once our organization came online, one of the very first things that we did, and we didn't really tell anybody this, we started reaching out to organizations. We reached out to the ADL. Our lawyer reached out to the ADL. Our lawyer reached out to the Southern Poverty Law Center. Our lawyer, reached out to even federal agencies like, FBI, like, hey, we hear what are you guys working on that has to do with our community? You got any problems? Let us know. For some of them, we got replies back. Like, for instance, the Southern Poverty Law Center, they were also part and parcel with the ADL as far as spreading slander against our community, as far as like putting our bios and profiles on their website and labeling us as extremists. So our lawyer reached out to their organization and said, well, hey, what are your requirements for making somebody or labeling somebody as an extremist? Let's see it. Let's have it. And they weren't able to provide that to us. And through some, I want to say collaboration, but dialogue back and forth, they were, I won't say forced, but they agreed to, redo their website and take us off like that front page on there. They had to change things up because they didn't have the data to support the label that they were trying to put on us. So just things like that, Elder. As far as like the attacks, and just being able to come against them, through the power of the Most High Yah. Praise be the Most High.
Sir.
We have had some victories.
Yes, sir. I was actually looking at that website you just said about Canary Mission. I actually pulled it up, and they had a search bar, and I put in there what you said about Black Hebrew Israelites.
Yep.
And on that site, they have multiple pages.
Yes.
With pictures of Israelites, and they identify them as either IUIC. They're telling the organization, and they have a brief statement about them saying that they're talking anti-Semitic, they're homophobia. This is all on that page. So to verify what the Ak was saying is so true. They have a database on us, and they classify. They had Nathaniel on there from IUIC saying he's professional, but this is where he's with Israel United in Christ. And they said on the brief thing, it said that he's anti-Semitic, anti-this, anti-homo. He's all this. And they have multiple pages of different Israelites on there. They also have some Muslims on there, and they have some neo-Nazis on there. But it's mainly us on the pages. I went through 2 or 3 pages already with like probably 60, 70 people on each page.
Wow.
And they have a brief bio of each person on there.
And I don't know if that one has the dates on it, but I know when I was looking at it, like some of those dates were older than the whole Gaza stuff. So basically what it told me was that they were working on our community way before any of that stuff was happening.
Yes, sir.
On the college campuses.
Yeah, and I'm looking at this, and they got this. It's multiple different cultures on there, but it's a lot of us on there. They have our picture. They have a picture and a brief bio, and they tell what state we're in and what organization we're with. So our enemy has, this is another tool for us to be prepared and just, you know what I'm saying, cover ourselves. You know what I'm saying? Because these people are after us. They've been after us for thousands of years. They want to keep us down because they know who we are. They know that their end is our beginning. They know their end is our beginning. But you can't stop a consuming fire. So, I appreciate the information. So what current projects are you got underway right now?
Yeah, well, we're trying to shift gears because, we just came out of having a couple of conferences. Last one was in Savannah, Georgia, and thank you for everybody that was able to come out for that. We had an awesome time fellowshipping, doing immersions and everything. Had a great Shabbat service on Tybee Island. And now we have that one behind us. We're looking to get back, get our hands in the dirt, so to speak, again, and just get out into the community and just try to figure out like what's ailing us. Try to also get plugged into what these policies. I mean, we've had all these types of executive orders. One of our charters was, we wanted to be able to, at the drop of a dime, be able to track every single policy, regardless if it's at the federal level, if it's at the state level, or the local, the county level. Any laws, any, I guess bills, that sort of thing, that are coming against our community. Because we just want to make sure we're kind of like the watchman on the wall. We want to call things out to you. It's like, hey, there's a policy over here, state of Virginia. They're coming after y'all. Pray about it. Everybody get together. Come against it. Just so that, like this Canary mission, they were doing this for years, and we had no idea that they were there. We had no watchman on the wall to say, hey,
Wow.
family, the Canary mission. Like, if we knew this, think about it. The IUIC guys knew that the Canary mission was monitoring them 2-3 years ago. Like, whenever this happened, I'm sure that they could have changed some things up. But because we didn't know, we didn't have a watchman on the wall, they were able to kind of come in and out, of our community and attack us. So that's really, like I said, fam, that's really like the charter of our organization, is to be able to call things out, say, hey, bills are coming due, or these executive orders could potentially impact us, that sort of stuff. We do want to get plugged into the legal system and the bills, that sort of stuff. We haven't done a good job doing that as of late, but that's going to be our focus coming up.
I appreciate that, Elder. Now I have a question for you. You mentioned something about 70 AD and the factions that were warring in Israel at the time. And that's how this, because when you read about that, and the historians talked about, that city shouldn't have never been taken. Jerusalem shouldn't have never been taken. But because we see the division that was going on and the fighting, the inroads against each other and the fighting against each other, we see that this shouldn't have happened to Israel.
Right.
Because we're sometimes our worst enemy. And it's still the northern against the southern, even to this day.
Yep.
And don't you think that, what can we do, man, to bring this all together? Because we got so many camps and so many ideologies. We got people over here. We got cliques over here. I taught a message on there, 12 tribes, no cliques. But we got so many cliques, and people don't understand. They don't understand unity. You know what I'm saying? Tell us, what can we do to bring us all together? Because we're so divided by the name. We're even divided by the Torah. We divided by this because you're over here. It's like, listen, man, I gang banged for over 17 years in the streets of LA. I was a Crip for over 17 years, and I come in here, and in this movement, and what the Most High is doing, I see what I used to be over here.
Right.
What can we do? Because I'm this, I'm that. That's how it was when I was in the streets. I still see that over here. And that should not be. And that's what scares a lot of people from even coming in to the so-called awakening. Even when the Most High give them understanding who they are, they see us and what we're doing to each other. You know, what can we do different? How can we move different to bring the nation together as one stick? We know the Mashiach came to do that, but what can we do now? Because this division is sickening. This tension amongst each other, the cliques is sickening. It's not of the Most High. It's not.
Yeah.
We're so divided. We're like Christians. We got all these denominations with all these different camps and what they believe, and the dogma that's out here, the assemblies out here that don't function with one another. We all name it, well, Kwam Yasharala, but we won't fellowship with each other. Kwam Yasharala, but I don't like that brother, man, because of something, man. They don't know the name of it. They still saying Jesus. They still saying this. But where's the love? How can we come together when we banging on each other over semantics, over the name, over the history, over the doctrine? You know what I'm saying? And we have a lot of poison amongst us, and people spreading the poison. But we all supposed to love and serve the Most High. Where is the love? What can we do?
Yeah, you hit on all cylinders on that one, Elder. Because I know for me, I got shalom and peace when I look back across the scriptures. I was like, you know what? How did Israel, when Israel was coming out of captivity, how did the Most High deal with Israel in captivity and Israel coming out of captivity? Because one of the things I came to realize is that, like, this is just in my studies, I'm still learning, and that is the Most High dealt with Israel in captivity, Israel coming out of captivity, differently than the Most High dealt with Israel in the land. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like when you're coming out of captivity, like when our forefathers was in Egypt, like Most High wasn't pouring the law, statutes, and commandments into us in Egypt. It wasn't until we were removed from Egypt, went into the wilderness, sat at the foot of the mountain, had the blood sprinkled on us, and then we had the law, statutes, and commandments. Same thing when we were in Babylon. If you all remember, Nehemiah and Ezra. It's like even in Babylon, when we came out of captivity, it wasn't until we came out of captivity that the book of the law was open. So for me, I get solace knowing that. I was like, family, one is that we have to realize that there is a greater enemy among us that we need to come together against. We need to coalesce, come together. Corporate, like you said, our powerful weapon is prayer, crying out to the Most High, getting back into the words and the scriptures. But at the very least, like you were saying, Elder, we can work out the semantics, the teachings, and all that stuff in the wilderness. Like, let's get out of here first. It's almost, you know what I'm saying? It's almost like you're in a jail cell, and then you're trying to get out of the jail cell, but then somebody, as you're trying to pick the lock to get out the cell, somebody say, "Hey, wait a minute, bro. You say Kwam Yasharah, like, do you say Yahushua?" Well, I don't know about that. It's like, if we saw it on the TV screen, it would be just preposterous for us. We wouldn't even understand it. But to your point, Elder, it's like, that's what we're doing. And so we have to realize that we are literally living in the land of our captivity. So we are literally living in this jail cell. We got to get out. And
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We have to realize, family, that when Israel was in captivity, like when they were in the exact same situation that we were in, they weren't given the law, statutes, and commandments. I mean, we know that we have to turn back to it, of course, and we were doing our best to commemorate, Shabbats and everything. But I'm just saying, from a pattern of how the Most High dealt with Israel in captivity, He pulled us out first. Each time, whether it be in Babylon or Egypt, He pulled us out first. Then we started working on us. So that's like the charter for our for my organization, the African Israelite Justice Council. And like one of the things that we sat down as a staff, we said, you know what, we are going to work with everybody. Now, granted, we said things like, well, anybody that's out there espousing violence and stuff like that, we can't really work with that. But aside from the violence, any beliefs, whether they be Christians, they're Israel, but they don't know that they're Israel, whether they're hardcore Israel, whether they're, all these different sects. We say, man, we're gonna work with everybody. We're gonna throw all that doctrine stuff aside. Because even the makeup of our board, we come from different backgrounds as well. So yeah, we want to see just like you, Elder, we want to see the two sticks come back together again. And
yes, sir.
We just want to be a part of that.
Hallelujah. Where can people find more information about what you're doing, Aki?
Well, ISRAELITEjustice.org is our website, ISRAELITEjustice.org. Haven't really done a good job of keeping it current as far as, current events. It's kind of one of those things where, because our organization, we're like, we do battle behind the scenes. I don't necessarily like to put up front of, what our tactics and what we're doing, because that gives the enemy,
exposure to us.
Yeah. They can kind of figure out what we're doing. Like, just like when I tell people, like, hey, well, go to LinkedIn and change your LinkedIn stuff, I'm sure the enemy's out there listening, like, oh, okay, well, we're going to do this, So, but we'll continue to adjust. We'll continue to tell Israel, what we see, call out attack patterns and things like that. But yeah, if you want to learn more about our organization, just IsraElitejustice.org, and just stay tuned, fam.
Yes, sir. And I appreciate. Yes, sir. I appreciate it, man. We appreciate you, Aki, because a lot of us, we come in here and we don't know how to fight spiritually so or naturally so, how to prepare and how to bring things together for us to build a community, because there's so much. A lot of us have resources, a lot of us have land and things of that nature, because like he told Jeremiah, he said, when you go into captivity, build houses and land, thing like that. Grab all what you can while you're there. While we're here, we're here till the Most High deliver us, till He take us out. You know what I'm saying? So when you have organizations like this, we should all come together to move together, to put things together and look out for one another. Because when we look at certain situations, we have been fighting each other for so long. I look at it because of how the house was split, how the two sticks were divided. Nobody really talks about that. That's a core issue with us, because we want to get back to the kingdom. But I say this to the saints, to get delivered, like Elder Shemaiah was saying, get filled with the Ruach, get delivered. Let the Most High cleanse you with this word, because you're not going to the kingdom with that division in you. You're not going to the kingdom with that mess in you. We can have organizations like this, but we still fighting with each other because of our thoughts and the way we think, the way we perceive, the way we move. But this word should wash us, and bring us together. David said, oh, how good it is that brothers dwell together in unity. The scripture says it's like what? It's like the anointing running down, I'm paraphrasing, like Aaron's beard. It's like that oil running down Aaron's beard all the way into his garments. Don't we want to see that for each other? Don't we want to see that for the kingdom? Scripture said, love your neighbor as yourself. This is what we talk about. When you have organizations like this, we should pour into each other so we can get more out of it. So what other initiatives you have coming up, Elder?
Well, again, it's mainly monitoring, monitoring, and we do want to start, networking as well, trying to facilitate networking amongst the communities to see if we can be that bridge, like you was, we were to go, because when people look at us, they don't necessarily see like an Israelite organization in that, we're not espousing doctrine or anything like that. So, the guards aren't up. They aren't as guarded against us as they may, versus, one assembly reaching out to another assembly. So we're just hoping that we can be that bridge to be able to bring folks together, whether it be through our conferences, because like I said, we just had a conference with all people, Israelites of all different walks of life, different communities, different beliefs, that sort of thing. But we were all able to come together in fellowship together, to exchange numbers, to, see, talk about what the current events and that sort of thing. So yeah, we just want to be that bridge.
Yes, sir. Understood. Definitely. I have a question for you, though. And then we want to open up to the floor with some quick questions. When we open up to the floor, please just not have a paragraph. Just have a quick question for the elder, because this time is patient. This time is short as well with us. So my question to you is, what do the other nations see us as? Because when I look out, if I'm looking at the same thing they're looking at, which is no organization, no unity, would you say that they see us the same way?
Oh, definitely. And it's funny because, like, to your point, because you pointed out like how the Christian church, they're divided against themselves, and it, you know it's funny because they're when people outside looking in, they do see that division. Granted, that same division exists on their side their side of the fence as well.
God,
But had if we were able to get together full resources, we would be a force to reckon with. I'm telling you, I mean, where even like this, the little old organization that we have, our funding is very minute and small. A lot of our members, we're pouring our own personal finances into it, to make things happen, like conferences and stuff like that. And just with the little bit that we have, praise be to the Most High, we're make some significant accomplishments. Whether it be with we had one young lady. She was, long story short, given birth at a hospital, and she got the epidural, and the epidural had fentanyl in it, and so she signed the paperwork to get the epidural with the fentanyl. Well, once she gave birth to her son, a baby Nehemiah, when baby Nehemiah came into the world, the hospital took baby Nehemiah away from her mother, saying, well, hey, you have fentanyl in your blood. You're a drug user. She was like, no, you just put that in my back. So it was, of course, if you can imagine carrying a child for 9 months only to have it taken away from you in the delivery room, you're going to act a certain kind of way. So she acted a certain kind of way, and laid some hands on people. And, and so there were some legal issues that came out of that. But praise be to the Most High, we were able to kind of spring into action and help out with, just things like that. Also, like I said before, working with these different organizations, giving them calls and things directly, just to let them know, hey, we're here, and if you have any questions, let us know, and also defend your position. Like, and what we've been able to see is that it has caused a noticeable change in behavior. Like, I started off by talking about the ADL. The ADL, they couldn't. I mean, if you went back in time like 3 years ago, man, you couldn't. You'd be hard pressed to not find them talking about laying some slanderous murder at the feet of our community. I mean, they were just saying like, oh, they do this, and they unalive people over here, and they're no good. They're thieves and people that steal stuff. But then once our organization came on the scene, and we started reaching out to them and started saying, well, hey, that's not true, and can you back us up with information? And there were threats of slander, like, hey, we can take you to court, right? The Nation of Islam took them to court for $3 billion. If we did it, it's going to be way more than that. All of a sudden,
yes, sir.
they disappeared. You're hard pressed to find Jonathan Greenblatt saying anything about the Black Hebrew Israelites. All of a sudden, he's changing his tune, because now he knows that there is an organization. Most High willing, we get the funds. We're gonna do the same thing, class action lawsuit, or whatever you want to call it. So now that he's having to watch his words, whereas before, when he didn't see any unity, they were able to just do what they wanted.
Hallelujah. And what's crazy to me? We as Israelites sometimes limit the Most High, the way we think when we see certain things like this can't happen for us. We can't move like this. We can't do things like this. And I just want to let you know, and just a little bit of encouragement tonight. The Most High got people everywhere. He has an inside man everywhere, in every part of every government, every system, every company. We're talking about the Most High, y'all. He's everywhere, and he has somebody in every part of this earth. Believe me, he has someone everywhere. So don't be scared to be that person that he uses anywhere and everywhere. Some of us, we're lawyers, we're doctors, we're business people, and we tend to find a lot of our people swaying to what the politics say, instead of seeking the Most High and asking, what direction should I go in? How can I be a blessing to your people? But we're too busy trying to be capitalists instead of Israelites. And Israelites looked out for one another. Go ask your brother Tobit how he dealt with his brother when he looked out and said, I'm looking out, go look out for them that are mindful of Yahuwah and bring them to the table. But I want to open up the floor because I know you got your time is precious, man.
Well,
I want to go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just going to land back on what you just said, Elder, just real quick. Just to let you know that, like, one of the things that actually speaks to us too is like, of course we read Deuteronomy 28, and we kind of look at the curses. But one of the things that I take to heart are the blessings. Like, what's promised to us is part of our blessing. Yes, and for that, especially it's verse 7, but if you kind of start at 5 and read down, it says, blessed shall be thy basket and thy store. Verse 6, blessed shall thou be when thou comest in, and blessed shall thou be when thou goest out. Verse 7. Then it said, Yahweh shall cause thine enemies to rise up against thee. So in this walk, family, it's not like your enemies aren't going to rise up against thee, but it says the Most High is going to cause the enemies to rise up against thee. And it says to be smitten before thy face. To be smitten before thy face. And this really spoke to me, family, in that, especially like when I was doing like a word study on this, and it's like to have something smitten before your face, you have to be facing it. You can't be running away from it. You can't have your head down in the sand. You have to be face to face with it. And it says, they shall come out against thee one way and flee before thee 7 ways. So this is like, I just want to just kind of share with Mr. Carr, like, this is just one of the things that we believe in, that is, we believe in facing our enemies, and we believe that it's not of our own power and of our own authority that we're able to have victory, is by the Most High Yah. He is the only reason why this small, itty bitty, teeny tiny organization can have any sort of victory at all against these billion-dollar corporations.
Hallelujah. Yes, sir. Like David, David, kill my enemies, kill them, Abba. I want to see them die. I want to see them get murked. I want to see them. I want to see them get blew back. I need to see that. And I love David for that, because he stood there. I love when he went before the Philistines looking like a madman, foaming at the mouth. Let's get this work. What y'all want to do? It's we forget. We come over here. We become so watered down, in a sense. You know what I'm saying? We ain't hard no more. We ain't like our forefathers. We don't have that aggression. We don't have, because their aggression was because they believed the Most High, because they seen the Most High work for them. They see him kill. They see him kill thousands. They see him kill that. I believe when you read that about Deuteronomy, I believe David read that, and he knew that the Most High gonna smite my enemies. That's why he prayed the way he prayed. Kill my enemies, smite them. We get over here. No, they'll save. No, man, I will wipe them, Negro. Wipe them out. Wipe my enemies out. I'm praying like Dawid, so wipe them out. So, but my thing is, we come together first. But can we open it up for a few questions, man, for you?
Yes, sir.
Anybody got any questions for the brother? This man is a walking historian. The Most High has blessed us to get it. You got any questions about the beginning? Come on, bring it on. No questions? Nobody got?
Yeah, family ready for the Shabbat meal. Ready for that Shabbat meal.
Shalom. Historian Benayah, man, this was a good presentation, man. We definitely gotta bring you on before the year over with to do a teaching as well. Like I was telling you the other day, how this idea of interviewing you came about today was probably approximately like close to a year ago. Well, first of all, we have been advertising, like I said, advertising the video when you guys first launched Israelite Justice Foundation. If you got any latest videos, just send them, forward them over to me, and I'll forward them over to our media department. But like I said, yeah, we was promoting the commercial real heavy. And then it had been a while, maybe like a couple years or something like that, a year and a half. One of our elders, Elder DeBar, one of our elders, Gird up, he was like, I think y'all should bring that brother on just to like check, because we've been rolling this video for a while, just to check and see what's the latest. Let him, explain to us what's going on. Because we had a couple of people supporting, and he been supporting you guys from day one. You know what I'm saying? And so that's how the idea came about, and it was a blessing, man. We just got around to doing the interview, but it was nice, bro. And we appreciate everything you're doing. We actually want to get one of the elders too to pray for the organization, because we know the importance of it, and we know that it's definitely under attack. But the enemies won't stop nothing. With that, I yield.
Yeah, thanks, Elder. I appreciate it. It's a blessing to be here, and anytime I keep.
Yes, sir, man. We love you, God. I appreciate you, man. I've learned so much, man, from everything that you have put out. Come on, Elder Cletus.
Yeah, I just want to take permission. Mine is not question, but it's just testimony that one sister gave. So if Benayah has a question, he will go first before me.
Hey, the water, Elder. The water. You sure? Oh, okay. My question for Elder Benayah is, you had mentioned that, your organization or organization that you're with, part of its foundation was, to replace or to pick up where the NAACP is left off. I've had a chance to speak to some members that are a part of the NAACP, and they have voiced frustration with the lack of doing work. It used to be an organization that was in the forefront of our people's struggle, but they have been absent, and many of the members are voicing that concern. So my question is, have your organization had a chance to reach out to the members of the NAACP and let them know, what your mission is? I'll yield there.
That's a good question. Yeah, thanks for that, Keith. And yeah, we actually did have reached out to at least one or two people, because we have someone from the NAACP that's in a one of the assemblies that we're a part of. So we have actually voiced our frustrations, or our concerns to him, and he's did the same thing that you were saying, in that he was voicing his frustration with what's going on in their organization, and he gave us a little insight too. This just for FYI, he was like, the reason why we can't do this is the Ashkenazis. And I think Sister Courtney Bailey, shout out to Sister, because she was going in. She spoke about the enemy within, and this is one of their hallmark moves that they do. They try to infiltrate your organization and then to neutralize it from the inside out. And I love it because when you all were talking about letting people in before we get ourselves in order, man, I was giddy on that, because you're speaking facts, truth to power on that, because that's what happened to the NAACP. And Most High willing, when we start to come together, when the Most High brings us together, we got to make sure we keep those elements out, because there's a history behind that. Even not to go off on the rails too much, but just know that even like in places like Spain and Portugal and some different places, they have historically integrated into our communities, and then they would introduce things that were contrary to the Most High's word, like they would introduce like the Talmud, introduce these things that would cause us to go against the Most High, and therefore separating us from the Most High, and then which would contribute to our demise. So learning from the history of the past and how they moved in the past, definitely I agree with Sister Courtney Bailey, or 100%, 110%. We got to keep those jokers out and just focus on us. And I believe once we do that and turn back to the Most High, I think we'll be fine.
So like Do you mind me just making a statement on that real quick? I'll just say real quick, my motto always been like Malcolm X. If you remember that Malcolm X movie when the Gentile lady ran to him when he was at the college, and she asked about being a part of the organization, and he said he denied it. He said we got to get ourselves together first and unify ourselves. We divided. He said, but what y'all can do is y'all can support us with y'all finances. With that, I yield.
Yep. Facts.
Oh, praises. Come on, brother Nehemiah.
All praise to the Most High. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Loud and clear.
My question is, am I wrong for feeling the way I feel? And I want to preface it by saying all the atrocities that has been done to our people. And the Bible said, remember the days of old. And the Bible says the Most High require us to remember the days of old, like ask your elders, right? So what I'm thinking about is Psalms 137 verse 9. Should I feel bad about how I feel about the enemy, right? When it says, happy shall he be that taketh and dashes thy little ones against the stone. I be thinking about the way they fed our people to alligators, the way they have done us and continue to do us down through the years. Am I wrong for having this feeling about, man, let this day come, right? And we have to have patience. I understand that. But am I wrong for feeling that I'm ready to dash their little ones against the stone?
Yeah, I'll defer to the elders, but just to land back on what you were saying, Hakeem, because for me it's Revelations chapter 6 verse 10, and this is like before the throne, right? This is like before the throne. It said, and they cried with a loud voice, saying, "How long, O Yah? How long?
Yes.
Holy and true dost thou not judge and avenge our blood on them that dwell on the earth?" So this is before the throne. So now, if they can say that before the throne, in my opinion, it's natural for us to say the same thing here. But I defer to the elders.
Don't let it consume you, brother. Don't let it consume you.
No, I don't let it consume me. I just want to say that those are my thoughts. Even though what I do is I compartmentalize my thoughts. If I can say that in a phrase. I compartmentalize my thoughts, because you have some people out there that be saying stuff like, well, all Edomites ain't bad, right? But scripture says, who can make straight that which he made crooked? So, and then the scriptures also say, never trust thine enemies, for as iron rusted, right? His wickedness is not all wiped away. So that's, I don't let it consume me, but I study to show myself approved, and a lot of things I be thinking about, so I'll yield there.
And I tell you this, man, that's why we have the mind of Mashiach, because we're supposed to follow our king and move like our king moved. Even in the midst of our enemies, the king knew how to deal with people. He knew how to move away, even when he was antagonized. Even when people came against him, the king knew how to move, because we have to understand we are the people. That's what we beg. Oh, I'm an Israelite, but do we move like Mashiach moved? Do we do what he did? See, there will come another time, I believe, when the scripture said, like they said in the book of Acts, he said, these be the men that turn the world upside down. We're going to get our chance. We're going to see things happen. Because what the scriptures say, vengeance is mine, said the Most High, is his. He knows how to repay them better than we could. And also, remember, he said, the wrath of man worketh not the righteousness of the Most High. The Most High know what we did, and he know what they have done. So as when he brings things back together, he's gonna wear them out. The scripture said the kings and queens gonna be your handmaids. So I rest on that. Even though when I read about David, I'll be like, man, I'll be hyped like David, just get rid of him, most high. But then I temper myself because why? I got the mind of Mashiach, and I have to walk like the king. See, we have to say, what did the king do in this situation? How did he move? How did he act? How did he go forth? What was his words? He said, the words I speak, they are ruach and life. So he was not here just reckless with everything and doing anything out of because of what he wanted to do. So we have to think and move like our king. Come on, Elder Cletus.
Oh, yes. I just want to send this appreciation to Benayah, because he had been long. One lady, when we directed her to him, to the organization, African Israelis Justice Foundation, believe me, when the man that was thinking that he was a husband to the woman, when the organization had to come in, the man had to run away. And last 2 months, she called me in and said that the organization helped her very well, and the man has paid the damages, the abuses that he was doing in that family. So I just want to appreciate, I don't want to thank the Most High for using you, and may he give you more strength to also help our people. We need this organization to move forward. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Oh, praise. You still got your hand up, Brother Nehemiah?
No, you can take my hand down. Take my hand
Yeah, go ahead and take it down for us, brother. I can't do it. Elder, who can I
down.
go ahead?
Okay.
Something just came to my mind. A quick question I want to ask Elder Benayah. So, African Israelite Justice Foundation, is it open to handle like problems and stuff like worldwide, or is it just in the Americas now for now? With that, I yield.
Yeah, and that's a good question. And just to circle back with Elder Cletus, it is an honor, blessing and an honor to speak with you, Elder Cletus. You may not notice, but I've been watching you for a while as well. So it's awesome. I'm glad that you were able to join. Really appreciate all your contributions, Elder. Also appreciate your guidance and leadership. As far as what the organization can handle, the way I try to explain it to people is like we were talking about King David before. In front of Goliath, I tell people it's like we have limited resources. We got 5 smooth stones, so we can't go against. Of course, we can't go against the army. We have to choose our battles wisely. And for the most part, we try to stay away from just like your run-of-the-mill legal issues. Like folks have reached out to us in the past where they had some problems with their landlord and money and stuff like that, but it wasn't necessarily an issue tied back to Israel. And that's the thing that we try to use to filter out the request is, is this were you, whether it be were you wrong because you're Israel? Like we had one family, just to give an example, we had one family, actually 2 families, where it was during the feast days, and during the feast days they wanted to celebrate the feast days, and so on their in their subdivision, in their house, they put out a like a sign or some sort of celebratory sign on their front porch, in their window. And the homeowners association was like, no, you can't put that up. You got to take that down. And the homeowners association fined them for it, and that's because they were trying to celebrate Shabbat. And so what they did was that they reached out to the organization and started working with our lawyer. And what our lawyer did was our lawyer then reached out to the civil rights department, the federal civil rights department, and started working with the lawyers there. And they were able to, through that process, get the homeowners association to drop whatever, fines and stuff that they had against that family. Not only that, they forced the homeowners association to pay the Israelite family. And then the funniest thing is, I kind of chuckle when I think about this. The other thing that they were required to do by this federal government was that they were then required to take classes or learn about Hebrew Israelites and be sensitive to our needs. So those are the types of cases that that we would gladly take on, because like they were wrong because they were Israel. They were wrong because they were trying to follow the law, statutes, and commandments. But the just the personal ones where people just kind of need lawyer or legal representation for for other things. We don't have the resources for it. We got 5 smooth stones, at least right now.
Yes, sir. Well, man, listen, Elder Benayah, we just want to thank you, man, for coming on today. We want to thank you for all the information. Listen, where can we find you on YouTube?
Yep. Well, I guess for now, Benayah Israel is on the Benayah Israel channel on YouTube, and most I will, and we'll start to branch out into some other platforms. I do have a new website coming up. Actually, two websites. Black History Case Files. That's one, Black History Case Files, and then the other one that I'm starting is called Black AI, blackai.info. And on that platform, what we're looking to do is start the very first Black History AI. So you use ChatGPT, you probably use it with Gronk or whatever that thing's called. But what I wanted to do for our community is have an AI tool for our stuff. Like you can ask AI anything and everything about Israelites, about our beliefs and things like that. Ask this AI about our history, as well.
Yes, sir.
It'll give it to you, because what we're starting to see is the powers that be, what they're starting to get their hands into AI. Like at first, you could ask ChatGPT a question about who the real people of the book are. Who do you want to be? They would say, "Oh, it's the African Americans." But now the answer, I don't know if you've noticed or not, but the answers have started to change, and that's because they're able to control the data that those AI systems sit on top of. So, knowing this, because we kind of foresaw that, because I'm in IT. So knowing how that stuff works, one of the things, just kind of strategizing, was I kind of saw down the road where, what, I bet you they're going to start messing with the data. And sure enough, they started messing with the data, and that's why I started this new website, this new service called blackai.info, which is going to give us the information that we're looking for without them, corrupting the data. So those are the two things, that's 2 places where you can find our, at least my new projects.
All praises. If anybody don't have any questions, we want to thank you. We want to thank you for coming on, sharing your time with us, man, and giving us some much needed information. Come on.
Thank you, Elder. Thank you, family. It's a blessing to fellowship on the Shabbat. And like I said, the Ruach is here. You all were praise be to the Most High, and thank you for you all for letting the Most High use you. I always love platforms like yours, Elder, because when you usher in, you praise Him. You start off with praise and worship. You start off with prayer. You usher in the Ruach. Man, it makes speaking just so much easier, because when as the Ruach is moving, through us, you all actually start talking about the topic that I had planned on talking about before I even talk about it. So anyway, but it's a blessing. So thank you, Elder. Anytime, man. Just anytime. It's a blessing.
Rocket, Elder Suka, I think
Hey, so.
we had one hand up. I think King had his
King,
hand
where
up
you
and took it down.
All praises. It slipped my mind what I was going to say. I was going to ask him how to deal with funny nigger lights, but I'm going to just leave that alone.
Ooh, I tell you, it's a hard thing right there.
Right.
Yes, sir. But we want to thank you, man. I'm going to turn it back into the hands of King Solomon, and we go from there. We want to thank you for coming on, man. Please support our brother. Go to the African Israelite Justice Foundation. Go on YouTube if you want more depth on the history of our people, where you can definitely get it. Because when I first came into the truth, I learned so much. You can go over there, Benayah Israel, on YouTube. Get that information.
But Benayah, if you don't mind, would you mind playing advertisement to your Justice Foundation commercial? That way people can see if they're looking for your information. If you don't mind, please.
Yes, sir. You said the advertisement or the link or the URL?
Yeah, you can share the link as well. You can play it and you can share the link as well. That way, for those that are looking forward to how to inquire and how to help fund, they can have the link and they can see. For those that may be here for the first time, to see what you all about by playing that commercial.
Gotcha. Okay. Just give me a moment. I have to find it in my my folders here.
Toda. And just want to welcome. Thank each and every one of you all for taking time out your busy schedule just to join us on the day. And we do thank you, Benayah, for your time. We know how valuable time is, and for you to come and just to share just the scrape of the surface of what you shared with it. It was just so powerful. So all praise to the Most High for that.
Yeah.
Benayah, I see your hands up.
Come on, Elder. Real quick, Elder Benayah, I had a chance to check out, some of the footage that you all had posted from the recent gathering. Is that something that you all plan to do annually or, more frequently? Or, when is the next time that you all plan to do something like that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think we were hoping to be able to do it twice a year, but I think we'll probably settle into either once a year or once every like 8 to 9 months. But we try to work around the feast days because we know each assembly has their own stuff going on for feast days each year too.
And I would like to add on to Aki Kenanai question. Do you guys plan on having it in Savannah each time, or are you guys open to having it in other cities as well?
Oh yeah, it's definitely going to be in different cities, and it's really open to it's open to suggestions. Because I was just talking with the Morey yesterday, and he was banging me on the head to have it over, somewhere in the Midwest, like whether it be like Texas or even on the West Coast. So yeah, we're open to it, family.
I was gonna tell you because just keep in mind I'm here in Vegas, so I'm willing to help. And then also Elder Bar is in LA.
Okay, so you guys are on the West Coast. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Oh, praises. I see you put the link in the chat.
Yes, sir. We turn it back into the hands of Elder Solomon. Come on, Shalom.
Oh, praises. I was trying to give Elder Benayah the opportunity to share the video for those to see if he's still looking for it.
African Israelite. Yeah, it's not picking up on my. Oh, hang on. I think I got it this time. Okay. The African Israelite Justice Foundation is not your usual legal practice. You see, we focus primarily on cases involving injustice against African Israelite groups or injustice against individuals because he or she identifies as an African Israelite or an Israelite of African descent. In other words, we are not a general legal practice.
So, like Elder, the music, you have music in the background with it as well?
Yes, it does.
Music not playing. It's just the words speaking.
It's like a delay in the speech too.
Let's see, default. Yeah, I'm just kind of looking at the settings. Yeah, it may not play properly. So I guess what I can do is I can put the link to it. I think somebody already. Yeah, I can put the link to it in the chat. and you can. And if anyone wants
You
to,
might have to play it.
yeah, it's just that I'm not sure if I try to play it from my media player, it looks like the audio is not going to come in from it.
Yeah, King, you might have to play it like how we normally do.
Yeah. I mean, I heard you. That's fine.
King, can you hear us? Shalom.
The African Israelite Justice Foundation is not your usual legal practice. You see, we focus primarily on cases involving injustice against African Israelite groups or injustice against individuals because he or she identifies as an African Israelite or an Israelite of African descent. In other words, we are not a general legal practice. Instead, we specialize on African Israelite cases. And also, family, please keep in mind, we are a brand new organization, not affiliated with any existing organizations. However, it is our hope to establish connections with all African Israelite groups and people here in the States and around the world. Family, we need to hear your stories of injustice so that we can begin to record, investigate, and identify the enemies of Israel hiding behind the veil, and then ultimately hold them accountable in a court of law. And as stated before, we are a brand new organization with limited funds, and we are in the process of expanding our resources to further enhance our legal team, who will litigate our cases. And if you would like to join this historic cause, please share this message all over social media. Spread this message of ISRAELITEjustice.org worldwide. And get this message from Kyrie to Kanye, from Whoopi Goldberg to Nick Cannon. And also share your stories of injustice or donate to the cause. And if you so choose to, you can remain anonymous and let us do all the work. After all, that's what the Israelite Justice Foundation is here for. We are here to fight for your right to be Israel. As always, thank you in advance. We appreciate you and love you, Israel. Take care, family. Shalom.
All praises, hallelujah. All praises. Once again, we thank you, Benayah, for sharing your precious time with us. All praise to Most High. Thank Elder Suka, our beloved brother, that came on and helped host this time with you, and to each and every one that just took time out to their busy schedule to come and be a part of what we had to bring forth on today. I pray that it was edifying, that it was something that touched all of us, and that we continue to move forward and growing together in unity of God. We're going to get Elder Cletus to pray us out. And let's see. And we're going to get Serving Yehukanan to do our 12 tribe war cry.
I knew it.
Hey, my bad. You was first when I looked up and seen. I'm